So let's start by, I'm going to get those images. I invite you all to go to D2L and let's download from the final project, download those backplate images. So I'm going to go to assessment, Dropbox, and then we're going to go to the final project. You can see all the backplates. So please just download them all. I'm going to put it here on my folder. So I'm just downloading them all also so that we all have them. I have them on my computer, but 2, 3. I'm gonna download those samples too. And then the tips. So I got everything downloaded there. I'm gonna give you a few moments for you to download all those images, plus the 2 videos. While that's happening, I'm going to open my Photoshop. So just giving a few seconds more for people to finish downloading. And I invite you to open Photoshop, please, if you haven't opened it. So this case, these images are, if you open up one of them, let me see if I can open up one of them. Came up, but then it just quit. Let me try opening with another software. Open with photos. There it is. So this is a document that is 1920 by 1080 in resolution. That this program doesn't show it, but it's got a pretty good file size, a little grainy, but pretty good file size. So we will be able to use them in Photoshop. No problem. I'm trying to open it with a program that can give me the actual information and the file size. File properties. Yeah, 1920 by 1080. The resolution for it. So, which is HD format, right? So we are going to create in Photoshop. Our project is going to be a new project. And here, we're going to look from film and video, and you're going to look for 1080, 1920 by 1080, 72 DPI, which is the resolution that it does. And again, you go to new document, film and video, and then click on the HD TV 1920 by 1080, and that will create the right format. for you to use, and it comes with your title screen save and so on, which is pretty cool, right? I invite you to all do that. Create a new file in Photoshop that uses that template. And of course, that makes it obvious that I can here now start drawing and start bringing my images. If I go and simply just go and grab, let's say the backplate 1 and drag and drop it right there, backplate 1 gets added to my background as a smart object, right? I'm gonna do it again in case you missed it. So I created 1920 by 1080 format, and I go and say on the outside, I grab my backplate 1, drag it and drop it on my thing, and it automatically will match that background. So I don't have any gaps or nothing. My footage will seem correct. This is smart object. That means that it's still connected to the original one. I'm gonna click on that object. I'm gonna lock it, so I do not move it by chance. Do not erase it by chance. So I click on the little icon right there and then lock it, right? That way I have it ready. Are you good? You have any questions?
Oh, yeah.
Let me go back. So you say file new and you got this, right? You go to film and video and then HDTV 1080, is that it? So HDTV 1080, and that creates the format that you want. And then you simply go and grab the image now and drag and drop it on it. The grid or this it came up yours didn't show up. It might be under show guys, make sure that you guys are there. So that way you can go and start working there. Now, of course, we have this layer there, and I said I'm going to lock it just by clicking on that, just locking it. That way I don't move it by accident. I don't erase it or do anything that I don't want. So here I'm free to create a new layer to start, of course, drawing. Of course, I can go and grab my footage, screen grab my, my images, and start drawing the way we've been doing and identifying my lines of action, and so on, right? So let me do a quick little suggestion of, I'm gonna say, okay, my first movement is going to be my character going from here to there. And then, of course, she is going to be doing whatever movement she is doing. And I'm gonna go my frame 2. I'm gonna go, and then she just arrives there, right? While she is, and this is me doing my basic gestural drawings very quickly to plan my animation, right? I'm just planning my shots, not really spending a lot of time in proportion, not really. I'm just thinking about my lines of action, thinking about the movement in general. My character is going to be having arms and so on and so forth. So I really, and that's for those of you who are planning to work in groups, you want to kind of have this discussion together, right? So you say my first action is going to this pose 1, pose 2, and of course I'm going to add my extreme and in-betweens in there, right? And if I say, okay, maybe there's going to be a third pose, so be it. I'll do my third pose when she stands up, whatever, she goes and stands up there, right? And then, whatever my action is will happen right there. So I invite you to do just for a quick test. go and draw three keyframes or three keyframes, so quick gestural drawings, just the way I did. Doesn't have to follow anything. I just want you to have three layers that show three poses in a very, very quick little manner as if you were planning your shot. The intention with that is I want to show you the timeline so that you can start looking at them more in terms of movement as opposed to be looking at them just like still objects. So again, go and draw three possible movements. These are sketches, of course, of my initial action lines with my key poses, right? Then it doesn't have to come from the footage, and we're doing just a little test, a little sample. You don't have to copy anything from the footage. Just draw three key moments, three just basic moments. We're trying to get familiarized with the tool so that you can do it the way I did it. You pay attention. I'm not really paying a lot of attention to the anatomy or anything like that. I'm just trying to get my sense of this is the movement that I'm going to do. I'm not following anything just yet. You'll do that. That's your job for your project. Again, the three key moments will have to be each one of them in an independent layer. Right? So three basic movement. Try not to draw them too small in your screen, right? So if you are going to move the person, you want to close to the camera, but think of them as you're moving not so small the screen, so you have really the kind of signal of the avoiding and being far away in the distance. Just giving a few seconds more for you guys to finish those quick three drawings. Right. So let's say you got those three drawings there, and we are going now going to put those three drawings in a timeline so that I could see them sort of like in movement, and at the same time I have an easier way to lay them over. You can draw, of course, all of them, the 12 poses if you want like this. You want to make sure that your poses are syncing. As we said before, we need to get the feet and everything aligned correctly. I have this poses, layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, plus my back plate. So I'm going to go here under window eyes on the screen, everybody. I know you're drawing, but let's just leave it, stop there for a moment and want you to see what I'm doing, and then you can go and continue doing it. So I'm gonna go here under window, and I'll go here under timeline, window timeline. And the timeline will bring up this object at the bottom, this window at the bottom, where I can create my timeline. I'm gonna go again, we'll say window timeline. I want you to go and call the timeline, please. And that pops up at the bottom. And then with that, you simply say create video timeline. And when you create video timeline, you see right away, each one of those layers that you did become a track. And this one is doing 29 frames per second. We need to change it to, let's see if I can just change, I forget what to change that. I'll dig into it a little bit later. We need to change it to 24 frames per second, but I'm not remember exactly where to do it. So I'll explain that to you in a little bit when I find it. Most likely is in the preferences. But here I have the option of bringing back my drawings to become moments in time that I can now start kind of sliding over so that I can just see my character in motion. I can also keep them overlapping. That way I can see 1 and 2, 2 and 3 together. That makes sense to everybody? So by doing this, and you decide, of course, you want to keep them on the screen for a certain number. Eventually, they're going to become 1 or 2 frames. We're going to try to keep it. We're doing 4. Maybe you want it to be on the screen for 4 frames. We got to change this to 24 frames per second. Give me a second here. Trying to find my preferences here. Interface, processing function, transparency. Units and rulers might be here. No, it's not there. That might be a way for me to change it here. I'm totally sure. I'll get back to you with that. The key element is I need to make this 24 frames per second so I can say each one of these guys will use 4 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4. That way I can keep them all consistent, being 4 frames. Eventually 1, 2, 3, 4. That way I can, if you need to draw more, you can do that. We're not doing really timing. It's just a matter for us to see them one after the other in for the same amount of time. Does that make sense to everybody? Questions? Yeah. Well, let's say, for example, I did layer 1, right? And I added another layer, which is layer 4. And in layer 4, I went and I did something else, right? Let's say he or she went for the next move, right? And I have those 2. Then, of course, layer 4 becomes another one right there in between. And I can just say, okay, these 2, I want to group them, right? And then they become a set group right there that you can go and modify within itself. So you can see here now, it becomes a bit more complicated there, but you see layer 1 and layer 4 now become a small group within the timeline.
So if we do like the sketch and outline at the same time.
Yeah, so you'll do that, yes. How do you? Oh, the little guy over there, thank you. All right, yes, I knew it was somewhere there. So let me answer this one to explain, and then I'll answer your question.
How do I just limit maximize the timeline on my screen?
You lost it?
It's small,
on the, okay.
not big.
You want to put it back where you want.
Yeah, because it's just big.
You go here to window, workspace, you go to some page. And then you can go here and that like that. You're welcome. Now, Cal found where to change the frame rate. Eyes on the screen, everybody. Here on this little thing, we can go and change the frame rate. What is it? Is it an save timeline frame rate? Yes, thank you. Save timeline frame rate. And here we're gonna change it to be 24 frames per second, please, everybody. You need to change it to 24 frames per second. Okay, I'm gonna say okay. That then I can now start identifying my frames to be the length that I want them to be, right? And like, of course, in this case, these two, you decide how long you want it to be on the screen. You don't want to be dealing with any of that at first because you don't have to be worrying about time. You simply need to worry about drawing. You can do so. You can do all your drawings first, right? As layers without the timeline. You can just simply close your timeline and do your drawings and your groups as we did before. And then when you're ready, you can just create a timeline or call the timeline for it, right? Now, once I have that taken care of course, when you're going to be done with it, you are going to here, you can go and say, there is a way for you to export, render the video. And that will render the video, will create, give us the option for us to give it a name, save it to a location, and it'll save the format that we require, which is H264 at 24 frames per second. And that will create a movie for us. Of course, you don't want it to be all that length. You can say, you know, whatever the number of frames it is, you pick the you know, the frames at length that you want it to be up to whatever count you ended here. And then you simply render it, right? And hopefully that did it somewhere there. I didn't actually look at the, again, this is here, render video. I went to my documents folder and make a better folder there. I'm gonna do it under my 1350 Gomez final project select folder. I'm gonna render my guy. It's gonna be rendered up to frame. Yeah, let's say 24. Let's render that. All right, and that did it, hopefully. And there is my untitled one. I didn't put a name on it. So you can see my little animation happening there very, very fast. So you barely see it. But this gives you the idea of what you are exporting out. That makes sense to everybody? All right. So that is the format through. And of course, I gotta save my file. I have not saved it. So I'm gonna save my file here. You have to use the same formatting for exporting the PDFs as we did before. So no big deal about it. Let me just save my file here because I want to keep it. Because the Photoshop file has not been saved. So I'm gonna say final work file, PSD file. Okay, so that's that. My suggestion is if you're gonna do two or three shots, I would probably create one Photoshop file per shot. That way, when I mean by per shot, I mean by per background. So you use the background and you do all the drawings that you work on this background, and then on a new Photoshop file, work on the other background, right? That way it's easier, and you don't get too congested, too complicated with the sequences here. If you want to create groups and do it that way too, you could do that, but then it becomes a bit more sophisticated to manage it here. Any questions? Now, let's do the trick using STORYBOARDER in case you want to use STORYBOARDER. Have you guys used STORYBOARDER? No? Yes? It has, so, okay, so let me show, Storyboarder has some good things and some things that are not that good, but it makes this part a little bit easier, right? Because Photoshop is kind of clunky with these things here, the timeline. So, yeah, let me just, well, we have it, it's a free application, you can download it for free. And so, you know, we have it on here, of course, but you can search for it, Storyboarder download. It's a free program. Just make sure that you download it from the right location. Here is Storyboarder. This doesn't look like it. Let me go back. I want to make sure I give you the right one. Storyboard, this is it, but I'm not seeing in GitHub. Let me see if GitHub it is. I don't want it to go to GitHub. I have downloaded it. Here it is. From wonderunit.com. Please don't download it from other location because you don't know. We have it on campus here, so you don't need to worry about that if you work here on campus. But you have to start your computer at home. It's from wonderunit.com software. And there is the you can go here and find the program, hopefully. Stories Technology Storyboarder right there. They have characterizer and they have script assistant, which I have not used. So it's got Storyboarder allows you to download the software for free. So let's look, they'll launch it here. Let's go and search for Storyboarder. And it comes up like that. So go and look for a Storyboarder, please, and open it. No need to close your Photoshop, just minimize your Photoshop. And go and look for Storyboarder on your computer. It must be installed there. And again, you don't have to download it. The program is installed on your computer, so you can search for it as a program right there, Storyboarder. When you launch the window, you're gonna create a new storyboard. So create a new storyboard, and then it has a pop-up window that says created based on a script. I cannot bring the window down, it's shown on my other screen, or create a blank. So I say create a blank. I wish I could bring it down. And then when you say that, it's asking you for the aspect ratio. I'm gonna pick HD 1620 by 1080. Let me just do a screen grab of that. You see, that's the window that's giving me on my other screen. You're gonna pick this one, 1620 by 16. I'm sorry, 16 by 9, HD 16 by 9. So that way I can go and say, okay, that's a one. And then it's gonna ask me to save it somewhere. So I'm gonna save it on my folder here. Normally I use the W drive. There is a folder in the W drive where you can create your own folder that you want. I'm gonna call it final. Let me just create a folder for it, Storyboarder. Right. So I'm gonna call it final. And I'm gonna create. So that you're simply loading there the program. Please go and do so if you haven't done it, if you're waiting for it again. It's called Storyboarder. Go and launch it, create a new storyboard, pick the 16 by 9 HD format, and that brings you to this spot, right? What is cool about this one is it's a lot simpler in terms of the tools and the things to do. It's a lot simpler, but it's a bit limited sometimes, but it has some cool stuff in it. So you see here at the bottom, you are already working on a timeline. And it gives you the option for you to add more panels. So I could start here, for example, and use my pencil and start drawing my character right there. So I'm gonna use a thinner pencil, right? And I'm gonna have, you know, my character doing whatever she is doing in terms of her dance move, right? Now, the disadvantage of it is that it has a program here on the side for creating environments, but that is a kind of 3D thing. It's not kind of cumbersome, and we don't want to use that. Comes for preparing the shots and doing the animatic and stuff. Here, I could draw the poses, but I don't have reference of my background, right? If I paste the background, let's say if I went and I paste that background image that we got from here. If I copy that and paste it, it couldn't paste it there. It will paste it. Let me see if I can copy paste it from here. Or if I grab it and dump it here, it's importing it, and it'll import it as a could not read image. It's so complex actually. So it's cumbersome to add the image, and when you add it, you'll be able to add it, or you can import the image, right? You can import images to new boards, but if you import the image is going to be, you're going to be drawing on the image directly, so you won't be able to separate the character from the image. That's the downside of it, right? So makes it complicated, but I'm going to save my file here. I'm going to save so I don't lose it. I want you all to go do a quick little doodle on your first page, please, on your first thing. Do a doodle of a character. And save your file. Because when you do that, now the file becomes a file that you can send to Photoshop and go back here. So what do I mean by that? So if I have my character here, right? Well, I let you to finish a quick little sketch there. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I have my character drawn in my first frame there. I'm gonna go, you see the upper right corner here, there is a Photoshop button, right? So if I click on that, it launches the file in Photoshop and it creates all sorts of nodes in it. So now I can grab my background, dump it in there, put it in that layer right there when I have it. It can be right there under my character. There's my pencil, right? I can continue drawing in Photoshop if you want. I can improve my drawing here if I want to, right? My pen is having a hard time for some reason. So once and I'm in Photoshop, just the same way. All of this stuff is part of the layers that Storyboarder uses, right? Once I save here, I just save this file. If I go back to Storyboarder, hopefully it will. A Storyboarder refreshes my drawing, and I put the background in it. And I can go back and forth as many times as I wanted to. What it actually does, if you look in Storyboarder, it creates a folder with images and it saves your Photoshop file in that folder. So I'm here in the storyboarder again. If I need to go and fine tune it again, I just simply go and click on it here, and that takes me back to Photoshop. And I can edit, modify, do whatever I want to. The downside is that every drawing I have to be pasting my background, bringing my backplate in every single frame that I draw. But once I have it, I'm good. I can just save it again. It's already saved. Go back here, and I'm ready to draw my second page. On my second one, I do the same trick. Click on that. Grab my background, which is the same background that I have. And then continue under the pencil layer, continue drawing my character. Whatever my character is doing. I don't know what my character is doing. All right. And I save, and that refreshes my object back here, hopefully. I'm gonna make sure it saves. It is saved. So let me go back here. Okay, just refresh that there. So now I have my 2 frames and a storyboarder. And the cool thing about this is that this has a layering or ordinary skin, so I can see my characters. The downside is that, you know, the background feels a bit overwhelming. So you can tone it down in Photoshop if you want or something, but this way you can see them and identify the motion and continue moving with it. That makes sense to everybody? Questions? You can use this or you can use Photoshop, either one. The advantage of using this is that you have the freedom of adding as many layers as you want and looking at them in a timeline. You can also have a way for looking at them in a timeline in terms of length, just like Photoshop does, or you can keep it in frame like here, and that way you can continue drawing all your frames as you go. The key element that you're drawing based on your backdrop, so you decide how you use it. When you're done, you simply save here, of course, and you can export this, export video when you want to do the video, or you can print or export to PDF. This one actually creates items on the screen, everybody. When you export to PDF, the window pops up. Oh, I wish I could change this. It's just popping up on my other screen. So the window pops up with a print. And in there, it gives you the option for changing it's going to print on paper. So you can tell it to use landscape, and then you use 1 by 1 column, 1 by 1 row. It'll show you just a single image on your page, right? Let me try doing that there so I can show it 1 by 1. Let me screen grab again. And you see now that when I do 1 by 1, my storyboard is going to come, each page is going to come with that specific background that you're drawing. That makes sense to everybody? And of course, you save your PDF, print or export PDF, and you're all good. All right, friends. So that's the part that I wanted to explain in terms of this software. You may use Photoshop, or you may use Storyboarder along with Photoshop to create your sequence. I just recorded this, what we did on Zoom, so I'm gonna stop my recording. So you guys have, if you need to have a reminder of where to click to do things, you can do so. One thing before I go stop my video, the other option here is you can export video. And in your video settings, it already did it. Wow, it didn't even ask me. So that is my video. Oh, that's the older one. No, that's it. Actually, that's it. So it exported a quick little animatic of it, and that's it. All right, friends. I'm gonna stop it there. I'm gonna let you get to work. And when passing around to look at your characters and your first few ideas for your sequence. And Remember, we have a posting due tonight on Scene Sketch. Thursday, we're gonna take a few minutes for you guys to share with your classmates your progress. So you get some feedback on character, you get feedback on poses, and so on and so forth. All right, but I'm gonna stop now and I'm gonna let you get to work. Yes.
The answer is I don't know. So, I will try to solve the problem. Solve the problem. Do that is not, that's why I'm showing. As a big behind that.